Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new episode of At the Buzzer Sports, where we talk all things basketball all the time. My name is John Drummond, and today, you guys know what today is. It's Monday, so we are going to do another mock draft. We're at the simulate lottery option right here. I want to simulate the lottery just because we know this is not how the lottery is going to be come draft night. There's going to be a lottery. It's not just going to be the standings of every team in basketball right now. So we're going to use sim lottery. Hopefully OKC doesn't get the number one pick like last time. It's been about 2 or 3 weeks since I've done a mock draft, so I'm very excited to show you guys some of the new players that I'm higher on, show you guys some of the players that I'm lower on, some of the guys that's kind of been on the skid. Kind of the same. The Sacramento Kings get the number 1 pick. The Atlanta Hawks get the number 2 pick. The Washington Wizards get the number 3 pick, with the Brooklyn Nets getting the number 4 pick, and the Indiana Pacers rounding out the top 5, with the Milwaukee Bucks getting the 6th pick, which could help them a lot, especially if they're going to be trading Giannis Antetokounmpo. So this is the lottery we're going to be using in this mock draft. We're going to be doing a full first round mock draft. I'm going to use Fanspo's consensus, and we are going to get right into the draft. Up first with the number 1 pick in this draft, I'm just going to go with best prospect available. This is the Sacramento Kings team that, honestly, not a lot of bright spots. Maybe if you can get off DeMar, if you can get off DeMontis, if you can get off Zach LaVine, if you can get off Malik Monk, there's not a lot of very high tradable assets for the Sacramento Kings team. So I'm really just looking at best player available. And you guys know I've been riding with the same guy since high school, and that is Darren Peterson. I think he's the best prospect in this draft. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the big three because I've been talking about the big three for a while now. I have individual breakdowns on Darren Peterson's game. I've talked about Cam Boozer a lot. I've talked about AJ DeBonsta a lot. You guys know how I feel about Darren Peterson. Probably the most polished scorer in this draft. Koa Pete has an argument in that case. I think Cam Boozer has an argument in that case. AJ DeBonsta is definitely getting better as a scorer throughout the season, but Darren Peterson, in my opinion, is the best scorer and player in this draft. Really good off-ball player, really good mid-range shooter, really good on-ball player and on-ball driver, and just shot maker and shot taker. I think Darren Peterson is the best prospect in this draft, so he will be going number 1 for me. As for the Atlanta Hawks, now, I don't think AJ DeBonsta is the second best player in this draft, but I do think he's good enough to be like, Atlanta have their Jalen Johnson. Let's get AJ DeBonsta in there to kind of be that starting small forward. And you can move Zachary Risacher to the bench, which is kind of crazy because he's a number 1 pick in the draft, but he just has not been playing to the level this season that you would have hoped for. No, he does not have a high expectation that we've seen number 1 picks get in the past, but he just has not been the player that Atlanta needs, and I think AJ DeBonsta fills a role. I think he's gotten much better as an offensive player, just the relentlessness downhill, the ability to finish over contact and over contest, especially in the mid-range as a shooter. He has a really good wingspan. That should be able to help him defensively, and how good he can be on the offensive end as a shot maker and a driver and a finisher. I would love to see him with a little bit more defensive intensity at BYU. He just has not really shown that. He has all the intangibles and all the tools to be a really good defensive player. He just has not shown us that as of recently. As for the Washington Wizards, I think they end up with Cam Boozer being a really good pick for them. I really like what Washington is building. I think they would have after this, they would have a core 4 of Keyshawn George, Cam Boozer, Alex Sarr, and Trey Johnson, which is a really good starting 5, and then they could just bring up a backup point guard or a starting point guard within the future. I think Cam Boozer is a really good player, and I kind of slided him in past mock drafts where I talked about the difference between him, AJ DeBonsta, and himself was the ball handling difference, where Cam Boozer has shown real feel as a short roll passer, as a sealer around the basket, somebody that can play off the ball and move the ball extremely well. So I think that's something that's underrated for him. And having multiple guys on this Washington Wizards team that can put the ball on the floor, whether that's Keyshawn George, whether that's Alex Sarr, Cam Boozer, or Trey Johnson, I think this is a really good pick for them. And I think they would solidify their young core and really try and build to progress these guys and put solid players around them. So I think this is a good pickup for the Washington Wizards. As for the Brooklyn Nets, I'm going to go Koa Pete here. I think he has a really high upside when we talk about guys that I think can become stars or superstars in this league versus a Caleb Wilson, versus a Mikal Brown. All of these guys have extremely high potential, but I think Koa Pete, with his polish as an half-court scorer, especially inside the arc around the post, with the ability to have that NBA body that I talk about with prospects, especially back in 25, especially back in 24, where you look at a player's build and say Koa Pete has a body that can be physical with NBA players, that can finish through contact at the NBA level, somebody that has a really good jump shot in the mid-range. I think Koa Pete can be that guy, and Brooklyn don't have much of their picks throughout the future, so I think taking a swing on a guy like Koa Pete is very reasonable. As for the Indiana Pacers, I'm going to be taking Caleb Wilson here. I think Caleb Wilson is a phenomenal prospect. I'm not as high on him to say that he could be a top 3 prospect in this draft. I've seen a lot of people dangle top 3. A lot of people say he's for sure top 4. I can see an argument where he's number 4. But I think the athleticism carries him a lot in some of these conversations. I do think he's a little bit rough on the ball, especially defensively and offensively. Defensively, you look at a guy and say, this guy can be a really good multi-tool defensively. He can show some help side rim protecting chops. He can be very switchable on the perimeter, but I just don't see that. I don't see that fully yet. I don't see that. There's potential there, but there's not really something I can look off and say, you know what, that's for sure going to happen. But he has all the intangibles. He's extremely athletic, and I like what he could do with this Pacers team, being able to run up and down the floor, being able to be the rebounder that he is, because we know the Pacers don't necessarily crash the offensive glass. And especially if they want to get off a guy like Obi Toppin. I think Caleb Wilson can be that transition threat that Obi Toppin is for the Pacers, just without the 3-point shooting. Another guy that I consider for the Pacers is Jaden Quaintance, somebody that can be extremely switchable and is the best defender in this draft class, but I'm going to end up going with Caleb Wilson because I think he fits the Pacers scheme just a little bit better with his raw athleticism and offensive rebounding prowess and potential. So Caleb Wilson is going to be my 5th pick here. As for the Milwaukee Bucks, I'm going to be drafting for them if Giannis is still on the team. So basically how the team is constructed now, that's what I'm going to draft for. I'm not going to draft if they trade Giannis. If they don't trade Giannis, we don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to draft for them as if they were here or Giannis was still on the team right now. And I think they're good at point guard. I would really love to see Jaden Quaintance play for this Bucks team because they do need defense. But that, again, is just something that I'm not necessarily loving. This is where, like, the Bucks kind of get tricky with the 6th pick because there are certain guys that can come in and help this team. Like, there's a multitude of point guards that I can understand getting picked here. Mikael Brown Jr., Kingston Fleming, LeBaron Philon, Braylon Mullins could be somebody that gets picked. Tonde Yesufu can be somebody that gets picked. I just don't know if I see it for the Bucks. I'm actually going to go Jaden Quaintance here just because I really like what he could bring as a switchable defender for this Bucks roster. And he's also really good as an offensive player as well. Now, he's not outstanding, but he can be somebody that can still play. One of my biggest concerns for him was the jump shot, but I didn't necessarily talk about the off the dribble scoring that he can provide for a team. Somebody that can attack closeouts, finish around the rim, catch lobs, things of that nature, be a good screen setter, somebody that can fight on the offensive glass, like we talked about in his debut. As soon as he came in, he was causing problems for the opposing big men because how much you had to fight with him on the glass. And that's something that's extremely valuable for NBA big men and just doing the things that matter for a team. So I'm going to be going Jaden Quaintance for the Milwaukee Bucks, top 5 prospect in the draft for me. But as for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think I'm going to go, where is he? Braylon Mullins here. I'm going to go Braylon Mullins with the 7th pick. And as we know, after the past few games against the San Antonio Spurs, we've seen that OKC may have a shooting problem. And this is something that's come up in recent stretches where OKC could go a while without knocking down some shots consistently. Alex Caruso being on the floor against the San Antonio Spurs, not giving the Spurs something to worry about on the perimeter and just putting Victor Wembanyama on him and letting Victor Wembanyama roam. I think Braylon Mullins is a really good off-ball player and somebody that has some real connective passing chops. Not somebody that's going to initiate an offense, but somebody that can make a good decision while attacking a closeout. Somebody that can make a good decision out of the pick and roll. Somebody that can make a good decision off the catch, whether that's shooting or driving and getting that extra step within the defense to make a good read. And I think Braylon Mullins can provide that for this Oklahoma City Thunder team. Now, will he play immediately? Probably not. He can probably just have a Thomas Sorber rookie season where everybody forgets about him. And then next year when he starts playing consistently, everybody will act like he's the best thing since sliced bread. I think Thomas Sorber is that good, but it doesn't really matter. As for the Charlotte Hornets, this is very interesting because part of me wants to go Tonde Yesufu. Part of me wants to go Chris Sinak Jr. This is a really interesting pick because there's multiple different levels you could go with. As far as the Hornets, though, like they don't necessarily need a point guard. I'm probably just gonna go Tunde because I think Tunde has real upside as an offensive player. Now I do think he's a great defensive prospect. He's gotten much better as a shooter. But the on ball stuff is what really draws me back from him being any higher on this list. Like right now, I'll probably have him between like 7 through 11 or 12, which is nothing wrong with that. And I'm not asking him to be an on ball creator because whether you like it or not everybody in this draft is going to be an on ball creator as consistently as some of the top guys in this draft. We all know that. But what I see from him as a defensive player and how he's grown as a mid-range shooter, as a three-point shooter, and how good he is as a cutter, and how good he is as a roller and somebody that can be used with guard-to-guard screens with guys like Brandon Miller, Con Knipple, and LaMelo Ball. Those are the things that I look at with him and say, you know what, this is somebody that can fit with a team like Charlotte that has a lot of athleticism, a lot of speed, a lot of really good transition play, and now a guy that can play on-ball defense and knock down jumpers consistently, or somebody that we can think that can grow to that level. So I like Tunde Yusufu here. As for the Dallas Mavericks, I think point guard is somewhere that I'm really looking at, and there's a lot of heavy candidates at this 9th spot. You can go Mikal Brown Jr. with his pick and roll play and the ability to make reads out of the pick and roll. You have a guy like LeBaron Philon Jr. who has a really good first step and is one of the best guard defenders in this draft. Kingston Flemings, who you can say the same thing about, extremely relentless on the perimeter and is a really good guard defender in this draft. Somebody like Darius Acuff, who has really good shot creating ability, or Bennett Sturts, who's a really good floor spacer and somebody that can make reads. I'm going to end up going with LeBaron Philon Jr. just because of the defense. I think Dallas can build up one of the better defenses we see in the league just because of Cooper Flagg and Derek Lively and the pieces that they have around him. Adding LeBaron Philon, he's not some A-plus level playmaker like a I wouldn't even say Mikal Brown Jr. is an A-plus level playmaker, but I think Mikal Brown Jr. kind of gives him the edge in that. But I think LeBaron Philon clears as a defensive player, and I think this is somebody that Dallas could really use on the perimeter next to a Derek Lively and next to a Cooper Flagg to make their jobs easier. So I'm going to be going with LeBaron Philon with the 9th pick. Up next, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder with the 10th pick in the draft. I feel like they can reach a little bit just because of where they're at and having 2 picks in the top 10. Part of me wants to go Cameron Carr. I feel like that's a real reach, but it's a real emphasis on trying to bring in shooting for this roster. Mikal Brown Jr. is another guy that they can go with, but I'm gonna go with Nate Amen. Like, let's not overthink this. I think Nate Amen is a good player. He has not been playing to the level that I had set for him. This was my guy coming into the college basketball season, but he just not shown the ability to create on the ball. And when the shot's not falling, I think over like his past 5 games, he's averaging like 13 points per game on 33% from the field. Like when that shot's not falling and you're not able to create with the ball in your hand, it's just not good for him. Like he doesn't have any real strength that he can use to like impose himself physically on anybody else. He does not have the first step or the handle to really create for himself. So when the shot's not falling, there's not much he can really provide for a roster. I mean, I think there is some potential there, and I do think he is a solid shooter, but I think this is probably where somebody like OKC will look at this potential and say, you know what, we're going to try and progress you as much as you possibly can. You're going to take some time to develop, and we're going to build you up to become the player we need you to be. As for the Portland Trail Blazers, I'm going to be going with Mikal Brown Jr. here. Mikal Brown Jr. is another one of those guys where I love in this draft class. He's really good at a pick and roll. This is a case where I seen with Jeremiah Fears at Oklahoma last year, where it's like his shooting splits aren't really going to show you how good of a scorer he is because of the load he's taking on at Louisville, where it's pretty much he has to create the offense while he's on the floor. And I just think that affects his splits so much. But I do think he could be a very impactful player. As for the San Antonio Spurs, I'm going to be giving him Chris Nack Jr., somebody that can play next to Victor Wembanyama at the power forward spot. I think Chris Nack Jr. does have good size. I do think it's power forward size. I don't think he's a real NBA center just because he stands at 6'11", which is really good, but he has a really slim base or like a really slim shoulders that doesn't give me the confidence that he's going to grow into that body to where he can become a full-time 5. But even that, I think he's a good rebounder. I think he runs well in transition. I think he's a good screen setter and somebody that can knock down mid-ranges off the catch and have a solid face-up game to where I think he could play next to Victor Wembanyama and you can have a Twin Towers thing going with San Antonio with all those guards and just having real good athletes at every single position. So I think that's a good pick for them. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves, I think Kingston Fleming is a guy that you can really build a culture around. Like having a backcourt or just a 1 through 3 or a 1 through 5 of Kingston Fleming, Cedric Coward, Jalen Wells, and Zach Edey at your 5. I don't know who becomes your 4, but I think Memphis could really build that culture that they had, and that they're starting to lose sight of. And I think Kingston Fleming could be a guy coming from Houston that could really help that. As for the Chicago Bulls, this is pretty interesting just because there's a lot of different routes you can go. Obviously, I think Chicago needs a big because Nikola Vucevic isn't going to be able to be there forever. This is where I'm going to go Hans. One of the best offensive rebounders in basketball. He's been able to give you 18 and 12. Somebody that could put the ball on the floor and just really create second chance opportunities off of his offensive rebounds, which are extremely valuable. So I'm going to go Hans here. Because why not? Why not? What are you going to do? Okay, I'm done. As for the Golden State Warriors, they do need some perimeter scoring in my opinion, but they also need size. There could be a multitude of different scenarios you can go. I feel like once you're outside of the lottery, a lot of this stuff is team fit. Like that's what I truly believe. I'm actually going to go some creation off the bench. I'm going to go Darius Akov. I think he has a really good handle. I think he has really good shot creation upside with the tough shot making that he could be good in this Warrior system, especially just somebody that can come in and score. Like a lot of people just really underrate that. Somebody that can just come in and score the basketball. That's all you need. Come in and score the basketball. So I'm going to go with Darius Akov for the Warriors here. As for the Atlanta Hawks, they get another pick here. I'm going to go Bennett Sturts. Somebody that can be a backup point guard because I know Atlanta is lacking in that department. Yes, they have Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Yes, they have Dyson Daniels, but I think Bennett Sturts could be a really good passer and playmaker for this team. He doesn't necessarily create much advantages when getting down here or playing in the pick and roll. That's one of the things that I look at with him and say, you know what? You're not necessarily creating easy looks for yourself and others, but you still are knocking down shots effectively to where I can trust you to be a backup point guard and make the good decisions. As for the Miami Heat, part of me says they need a point guard, and I feel like, oh yeah, here he is right here, Christian Anderson. I've been growing on Christian Anderson, or Christian Anderson has been growing on me. Just his ability to play within the half court, just the ability to change his pace and his touch around the rim. I think recently he's been averaging like 18 points per game, which is extremely valuable. I think in the half court, he's a really good creator and passer and playmaker, and the touch around the rim is really good. And the change of pace and handle is something that Miami could really use. Somebody that can push the pace, make good plays, and they'll have a really interesting guard rotation if they draft him when they have Kasparas Yakuchonis, Christian Anderson, and Davion Mitchell, who Kasparas looked pretty good in that game that I watched him play against Boston. So that was really interesting. So I think Miami could really be building their guard rotation up, and I think that could be something that helps them and aids them in the future. As for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I don't think they're going to keep all 4 picks in this first round, but I'm not doing trades in these. So I'm going to give them Cameron Carr, who started his season on an absolute heater as a shooter. Somebody that can play with the ball in his hands, somebody that can play in transition, somebody that can make catch and shoot threes. I think he'll be really good for this Thunder team. So that's going to be his pick there. He's going to be going to OKC, where I think he could be extremely impactful, just racking up on outside shooting. Let's make that a margin that OKC does not have to worry about in the future or in a postseason series. That's why I have them going Braylon Mullins and Cameron Carr. There's multiple guys where I feel like that can be resolved. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves with the 19th pick, I'm going to be giving them Thomas Hook, who is one of the better transition players and better athletes in this draft. The ability to run in transition and catch lobs and set screens and play within the middle of the floor. As in play in the middle of the floor, just have really good footwork and pivot foots and being able to have a good touch shot around the rim. I think that's really solid. He can knock down open shots. I believe he's only shooting like 33 to 35% from 3, but he can knock down an open catch and shoot shot. And with his ability to just attack closeouts, to be extremely athletic around the rim, I could love him and his fit in Houston. And he's also 6'8", between 6'8" and 6'9". He's a little older, so I don't see him going higher in this draft, but I think he could be really impactful as an offensive player. So I have Thomas Hyuk going there. As for the Toronto Raptors, they would love a point guard, but it looks like we're running a little short on those at the moment. You know what? I'm going to give them Keaton Wagler. I'm going to give them Keaton Wagler, who's somebody that's been growing on me within recent games. He's averaging about 16 points per game while shooting like 40% from 3 on 5 attempts. He has combo guard potential. I really see him as a shooting guard though, just because I don't love his first step. He does have this counter where he can get to that spin move in the middle of the floor where he gets you on your hip and he goes for that spin move. Now he can use his footwork to get all the way to the rim and finish there, but he can also spin off of that and hit a shot in the mid-range. I really like his in-between game. There's a hop step that he gets to as well, especially if the spin move isn't available. So I really like what Keaton Wagler has been doing as a guard, but I just don't see him as a point guard. He has shown some connective passing abilities, just being able to make reads out of the pick and roll, whether that's hitting the making the lay down pass or the interior pass to the big, or being able to make kickouts, which again, that's all I'm really looking for. I'm really just looking for feel as a passer. I'm not necessarily looking for you being this A+ level passer and playmaker in the half court. I'm just looking for if you're willing to make those passes and do you look comfortable making those passes, and he has shown that. So I think he can be a really good combo guard for this Toronto Raptors team, especially a team that's lacking guard play. Like Emmanuel Quickley hasn't been great, RJ Barrett has not been great, and I think Toronto could use a little bit more offense. So I'm going to actually go with Keaton Wagler there. As for the Charlotte Hornets, they have their center in Kalkbrenner. I think for me, it's probably just going to be getting talent. And I think let's go Yaxel Lindenberg. I think Yaxel Lindenberg is a really good player. He's a really good 3-point shooter, has a really nice NBA body and NBA feel. And he's a senior, so it's like he has played at the collegiate level for a while now. I'm going to be going Yaxel here. As for the Boston Celtics, I feel like a 5 is needed with the 22nd pick. There's still a lot of really interesting options on the board. I think you know what? Let's get Isaiah Evans out of here. I'm going to give Isaiah Evans to the Boston Celtics. I think he fits their narrative of being able to shoot threes consistently at a high clip. I think Isaiah Evans does more than that, obviously, as an off-the-ball player. He's just extremely athletic when it comes to cutting to the basket or just playing off the ball. And we know how much of a microwave he is as a 3-point shooter, somebody that can come in and knock down as much threes as he possibly can on a possession-to-possession basis. So I think Isaiah Evans could be really good for the Boston Celtics. I had to get him out of here because he's a really talented player to me. As for the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's going to be interesting to see where they go. I think I'm going to go Malik Thomas, just another guy who can create on the ball. One of the better 6-men in college basketball for Arkansas, and just being that extra guy. That's where I think I'm going to go. As for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I think we've drafted enough shooting upside. I think it's time to go with some athleticism on the wing in Dame Sarr, who could be somebody that can be a defender for this team and somebody that can guard the perimeter consistently. He hasn't gotten his chance or his real moment to shine at Duke, but there's a lot of talent on Duke's roster to where it's like, you know what? You're not going to be able to shine, but we see the intangibles, we see the tools. I still think he's good enough to get drafted in the first round. As for my Lakers, this has been my mock for the longest. Let's go ahead and get Ade Mara. Let's get Ade Mara. Ade Mara is somebody that's averaging about 11 points per game, 8.5 rebounds. He has a couple of games where he has 4 assists or 4 blocks. He's not the most mobile, but he's somebody that can set good screens, rebound, and protect the rim, and make a couple of extra passes. I do like what he can bring to this Lakers team, and the Lakers need a big because DeAndre Ayton might not be here next year. So I think that's just something to think about. As for the Denver Nuggets, I'm going to get Michael Porter Jr. kind of hybrid with Kareem Lopez. Now, I'm not saying he's as good as Michael Porter Jr., don't get me wrong, but this is the type of player who's a 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", small forward that can play off the ball, can be really athletic and knock down shots. I think he can fit really good with what Denver's trying to do. This is somebody I had mocked really high to start the season, but it's kind of fell off a little bit, which is no problem. As for the New York Knicks, this is where I'm going to go Neoklus Aptalis, just so they can have another scorer off the bench. And I think he could be really good there. he had that span or that 2 week stretch where everybody was saying he's the next Luka Doncic, where you can see the resemblance in what he's doing compared to Luka Doncic. I just don't think he's as good as a prospect a lot of people were making him out to be. Like after that 33-point game, I saw a lot of people mocking him in the top 10. And then when I watched him, I'm like, this guy it's a really good prospect. Don't get me wrong. He's a great prospect, but a lot of this stuff is just really tough shot making, and that night it just decided to fall. Because if we've watched other games of Neokulas Avdilas, he shows a lot of passing chops, he shows a lot of creation chops with the ball in his hand, but he's not really creating any separation. He's not getting downhill as consistently as you would want him to be, and he's just relying on a lot of really tough shot making, and that's just not somebody that I would look at to be a top 10 prospect, especially when you're not giving much on the defensive side of the floor. So I don't think he would be mocked, or I think it's safe to say I wouldn't have him mocked top 10. As for the Cleveland Cavaliers, part of me is thinking wing here, just because I don't know how for certain Jared Allen's future is here. Somebody that can play a tweener between 3 and 4. Part of me is just saying go JT Toppin, or a guy that's like Dash Daniels or Patrick Ngangba. I think that's probably where I'm going to go. I'm probably going to go Patrick Ngangba, somebody that can rebound the ball and knock down threes and is a pretty good lob threat. I'm going to go Patrick Ngangba there. As for the Detroit Pistons, I'm going to give them, this is a spot where it's like you would really love to have a backup just ball handler and initiator. This is the tough part for me. This is the tough part. I'm going to go Dash Daniels here. I'm going to go Dash Daniels. He shows a lot of signs as a defensive player, and I think Detroit just buys in, especially if they have a late pick like this. Just keeps buying into the defensive side of the floor. As for the Washington Wizards, this will be the last pick of this draft. I'm going to have them take maybe a backup big and go Henry Vassar. I think Henry Vassar is a really good prospect, just as like a screener and rebounder, somebody that can be a big body. He's averaging 17 and 9 at UNC. He shows some really good athletic chops, and as a rebounder and a rim protector, he could be really solid. But this is my draft. With the first pick, we have the Sacramento Kings taking Darren Peterson. With the second pick, we have the Hawks taking AJ DeBonsta. With the third pick, we have the Washington Wizards taking Cam Boozer. With the fourth pick, we have the Nets taking Koa Pete. With the fifth pick, we have Caleb Wilson going to the Indiana Pacers. Number 6, we have Jaden Quaitons going to the Milwaukee Bucks. And with the 7th pick, we have Braylon Mullins going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The 8th pick, the Charlotte Hornets will be getting Tonde Yesufu. With the 9th pick, the Dallas Mavericks will be taking LeBaron Filan Jr. With the 10th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder will be taking Nate Ament. With the 11th pick, the Portland Trail Blazers will be taking Mikal Brown Jr. With the 12th pick, the San Antonio Spurs will be taking Chris Sinak Jr. With the 13th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies will be taking Kingston Flemings. With the 14th pick, the Chicago Bulls will be taking Hans Stieback. With the 15th pick, the Golden State Warriors will be taking Darius Acuff. With the 16th pick, the Atlanta Hawks will be taking Bennett Sturts. With the 17th pick, the Miami Heat will be taking Christian Anderson. With the 18th pick, Cam Carr will go to the Oklahoma City Thunder. With the 19th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies will take Thomas Hook. With the 20th pick, the Toronto Raptors will take Keaton Wagler. With the 21st pick, the Charlotte Hornets will be taking Yaxel Lindenberg. With the 22nd pick, the Boston Celtics will be taking Isaiah Evans. With the 23rd pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves will be taking Malik Thomas. With the 24th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder will be taking Dame Sarr. With the 25th pick, the Los Angeles Lakers, my Los Angeles Lakers, will be taking Ade Mara. With the 26th pick, the Denver Nuggets will be taking Kareem Lopez. 27th pick will go to Neokulas Avdilas over in New York. With the 28th pick, we have Patrick Ngangba going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. With the 29th pick, we have Dash Daniels going to the Detroit Pistons. And with the 30th pick, we will have Henry Vassar going to the Washington Wizards. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys like this type of content, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at ATB Sports 1. Make sure you guys follow me on TikTok at TheBuzzerENT. And make sure you guys follow me on Instagram at TheBuzzerSports_. With all that being said, I will see you guys next time. Peace.